Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is a Heat Lifers reunion on the Hardwood Nation Podcast Network with your boy CL Anthony and my main man Kevin Carter. What is going on, Kevin?
What's up, man? I know we're a little bit excited this morning.
We, well, as with the entire NBA world, we are going to give Jimmy Butler his flowers today. Um, this is impromptu, so forgive me. I'm a little under the weather, but we're going to get through it. Um, I didn't make it home until right after halftime. Kevin, I'm going to give you the floor. Tell me the brilliance that I've heard about but didn't see of Jimmy Butler in that first quarter.
Now, mind you, I go to trivia on Monday nights, so I'm sitting at Mellow Mushroom here in Jacksonville, and I was like 7:30 came along. I was like, "Hey, y'all need to turn the damn game on." I was like, "Y'all need to turn off
Mhm.
all this hockey crap, and I want that TV on basketball." So naturally, because I go there all the time, they put it on there. So I'm
Mm.
sitting there watching, and Jimmy is like, we know how good he is at drawing contact and getting the foul calls and everything like that. But the man's now making 3 pointers. Like he's been on a tear from behind the 3 point line this series. Like we haven't seen
Mhm.
him shoot this well behind the line in a while. But the 22 points in the first quarter, like he was on a totally different level than I've seen anybody wearing a Heat jersey. Yes, I've said it. This is probably the best performance by a guy wearing a Heat jersey in a playoff game in a very, very, very long time. Like it was a thing to watch. You're watching him, like the one shot he hit where Covington just kind of put his hip out and Jimmy kind of drew the contact and kind of slid and hit the shot. And it was just watching him play basketball is it reminds you of watching people in the 90s play basketball. It's what me and you grew up watching. Jimmy Butler is just a throwback guy to watch play basketball.
He is shooting 53% from three-point range in this series and 62% from the field against the league's toughest defense. And we're gonna get on that later because the Bucks had the number one ranked defense, but Miami's been torching them, averaging about 126 points in this series. Okay. Um, I am still processing. I literally just made another video about 20 minutes ago that I uploaded here. I am still processing what I saw last night because I'm agreeing with you that we have never seen what we saw last night from a Miami Heat player, and we've had a plethora of great players and great moments. Okay, um,
Mm-hmm.
of course, LeBron James Game 6 in Boston, um, the entirety of Dwayne Wade's first championship series,
Yep.
um, Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, Dan Marley, Jamal Mashburn, Eddie Jones. We have never um, seen someone elevate and put a team on their back for a 56 piece like we saw Jimmy Butler do last night. And
The only
Kevin,
other
I don't
time
know.
I remember, the only other time recently I remember somebody putting the team on their back was freaking Jimmy doing it in the bubble. This
Yes.
the only time recently I remember somebody. For me, it goes 2006 Dwayne Wade's NBA Finals. That's going to be for me because of what it resulted in. That was
Mhm.
the ultimate him balling because it went over a whole series and it led to a
Right.
championship. The Jimmy Butler run in Miami, when you think about it, is one of the better runs, even though it's not ending it with a title. But this is one of the better runs by a individual Heat player that you'll ever see. Like his years there have been one of the best runs by a Heat player since Dwayne Wayne's run since he was there. Yeah, I said it. If anybody's got an argument with it, this dude is doing it, and he's doing it with minimal help. Like
Right.
the guys you think are the guys you think are supposed to help him aren't doing anything. And now the role players are starting to set up. Duncan, thank you for finally showing up and earning that $90 million. I appreciate it. But dudes are stepping up. But this dude literally has put everything on his back and said, "I'll take it."
And I want to put something into perspective. We did our predictions about a week ago, and of course, I predicted the Heat to beat Milwaukee because there's history between these two teams in
So
the
of course,
playoffs and also in the regular season. Since Giannis has been there, we pretty much owned them. And this is no shot. I love Bryce to death. This is no shot. But me and Bryce disagree on one thing. And I told Bryce, I said the Miami Heat have absolutely no fear of the Milwaukee Bucks.
none.
And Bryce's counter is, well, with the Heat culture, you guys don't fear anyone. I said, yeah, you're right. But against Milwaukee, it's different.
Mhm.
It's different. The Heat knows it, and also Milwaukee knows it. And it's like the teams don't hate each other. The teams actually, they're fine. They like each other. But it's just something different against the Milwaukee Bucks that
And
perks Jimmy and the Heat up.
you want to know what the difference is?
Go ahead.
Milwaukee gets more physical with Miami than any other team does.
I didn't
They
think about that.
try to match physicality with physicality because that's the way Miami plays. So when you
Mhm.
try to match, when you don't finesse enough, and because Miami has trouble with teams that finesse. But
Mhm.
when you try to bang with them and you try to go head to head with them in that department, it creates the advantage for Miami. And that's what Milwaukee does.
Mhm.
Milwaukee, when they swept them, if you notice when they swept Miami the one time, and that was a fluke, and we all know things went
Yeah.
on in that series. But
Right.
Milwaukee was finessing them. Milwaukee was draining threes. Everybody was stepping up, and they were doing what they normally do. They were nailing everything they were shooting. They got on a very hot streak. That was the year they won to the finals. But that's when they were finessing them. Now they started to try to bang with them again and tried that to be physical with Miami, and Miami takes advantage of it because that's the way Miami likes to play. Miami's used to playing like that all the time. Milwaukee isn't.
Mm. That's great, Kevin. That's absolutely great. I was even looking at the stats of the game last night, and they're pretty much even down the board. Like they're even. I was like, wow, this game is really, really close. Um, did you think? I know you thought the Heat had a great chance of winning the series. Did you think the Heat would ever be up 3-1?
I didn't think they'd be up 3-1. I thought it was going to be I when they got to game one, I said, okay, this thing's going to go back to the they'll find out some way to get, especially after game two, and Milwaukee went on that weird shooting streak that they go on. In the
Yeah,
back of my head, it went, okay, this is kind of like the Miami's Orlando Raptors series, where you won game one, you surprise the hell out of everybody, and then you get the gentleman's sweep afterwards. So I thought
right.
after game two, that's what was going to happen. But then game three, they came out and showed out, and I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like,
Mhm.
now the Bucks are going to be in that way of, okay, we get Giannis back, everything will be all right. Then when you get Giannis back, he goes for a triple double. He does what Giannis does, but then you got that
Mhm.
X factor in Jimmy, and then you got guys just making timely shots for the Heat, and it's starting to they getting that little feel for it again. It's like I always said about Miami. People talked about them during the regular season. I said that don't matter to them. So a
Mhm.
lot of these people just want to get into the tournament. When you get into the tournament, that's when certain teams turn everything on, and that's when certain teams turn everything off. Miami just happens to always turn it on when it's time to get into the playoffs.
Yeah. Another thing I said in our predictions was in this series, because the Heat don't fear the Bucks, the seeding doesn't matter. They don't care that
Nope,
the Bucks are the first seed. They don't care that they're the A seed. Like you said, they just want it to get there and then do damage when they get there. Um,
exactly. And then you shouldn't be surprised like you were when Seattle beat whoever they did when they were the 8th seed. This shouldn't come as no
Never.
surprise to people when it happens. Yeah,
Right.
this shouldn't come to surprise to people when it happens because the Heat are the Bucks' kryptonite. They
Hmm.
have since the bubble. The Heat have always been their kryptonite. The Heat are that one team that the Bucks are like, shit, we got to play them.
Yeah.
And if you want to get through them, you got to get through them. It's just crazy how they are towards each other. But it's like I said, the Bucks all of a sudden think they got to get physical and get out of their game, and then you play right into Miami's hand.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, how are you surprised with the timely shots and the defensive prowess that Caleb Martin is showing?
No, because he showed it before. Like
Mhm.
Caleb Martin is a really good player. He just don't get a lot of playing time until somebody gets hurt. And then when somebody gets hurt, Caleb just steps in there and does what he's been doing the whole entire time. It's the one thing I hate. The one thing, my one little pet peeve I have about Eric Spoelstra is he gets so set on having these certain people come into the game at certain times, and he's got this thing for just certain guys. When he
Mhm.
just needs to go with the feeling of the game, don't take these guys out. If you feel it getting away, put your guys back in. It's just his
Right.
management is the only thing that gets on my nerves with him. Other than that, one of the best coaches that have been in the NBA. But it's just those little nitpicky things. I'm like, put him back in. I'm like, put somebody back in the game. I'm like, don't take him out for Cody Zeller. Who cares if you're running small? Just let him play and let him go. And there's been a couple of guys like that.
Mhm. So here's a little tidbit about Eric Spoelstra. So right now he's tied with Red Auerbach for number 6 on the all-time playoff coaching wins list. Okay, they're both tied
Insane.
at 99 wins. Okay, but now check this out. If the Heat can take out Milwaukee, one more win, Eric Spoelstra will actually move into 5th place with a tie with Larry Brown at 100 wins.
A
Number
hundred.
4 is 100 playoff wins. Number 4 is Doc Rivers at 108. Not saying we're going to get it this year, but Eric Spoelstra could be, when it's all said and done, in the top 5 for all-time playoff coaching wins.
And Doc Rivers what has one title to show for it?
He has one title to show for it. So to complete the list, Doc Rivers is 4 at 108. Then you have a gap. Greg
Yeah,
Popovich is 3rd with 170. Pat
with
Riley is 2nd.
936 with 936 championships. Yeah.
Yeah, Pat Riley is 2nd with 171. And then Phil Jackson, of course, is number 1 with 229.
Of
So
course.
number 4 is actually in play for Eric Spoelstra. I'm just saying,
Oh yeah.
number 4 is
And
in
it's
play.
and it's crazy to think this guy that Eric was a video guy. Eric was a hey, go get me a video and bring it back. And he was
Yeah.
with the Heat the whole entire time and worked his way all the way up to now being close to being the 4th highest win total coach in playoff history in the NBA history. That's
Right.
insane. That is insane. And the only thing we can nitpick with him about is the way he handles rotation. That's it.
Right. Right.
That's insane. That's
a lot
insane.
a lot of shit that went down last night, we just have no explanation for.
We don't. There is no explanation for this run besides the fact that Jimmy's like, you know what? Everybody's been bullshitting about me in the beginning of the year, talking shit about me. Now it's time for me to do what I do. And we saw it towards the end of the year. Jimmy was starting to
Yeah.
get that feel to him. And now
Yeah.
he's like, you know what? Screw it all. I'm gonna go out and average freaking close to 40 points a game.
37 right now. He's averaging 37 points.
37, 37 points a game against one of the number one defenses in the league.
So In the video I posted earlier, I mentioned that the Bucks played scared defensively, and what I mean by that is most of the night it was one-on-one coverage against Jimmy Butler because they didn't want the Heat shooters to snap. Um, they can't do that again in Game Five. If they do it again in Game Five, they're going to lose the game because Jimmy's just going to run through them. And Strus had 0 points last night. You know, Duncan did make a couple of threes, but Strus had 0 points, and he's been our most consistent three-point shooter outside of Tyler for the season.
Yeah,
Do
because
you
Jimmy
think
was
Matt?
scoring all of them. He had 0 points because Jimmy took them all.
Do you think Matt Strus will show up in Game Five if
Yes,
if
because
they throw a lot of double teams at Jimmy?
no, I think he'll show up just because it always happens. How many times have we watched the Heat and a guy just shows up out of nowhere and bam, he does all the he does the big lifting, and then another guy shows up out of nowhere and bam, like well, there's one guy that actually needs to show the hell up, and that's Bam. Like they are giving you free throw line shots. Here's an idea: shoot it. If you miss it, I'll live with it. If you make it, good on you. It's a lot better than you doing that stupid ass dribbling you were doing last night and turning the ball over. Just show up for one game. They win the series, then you can go back to doing whatever you want to. But Max is going to be, it's always like a Max or a Caleb or Duncan. And one of them will show up again in game five. I don't think they win game five. I think they end it in game six just because I think the Bucks are just going to come out desperate as all get out. And Giannis is going to have one of them 42 and 10 games and shit like that. I just think they don't win game five. But game six, I think when they go back to Miami, they'll end up winning. But there's always that one dude. It's like a Heat tradition. You always get that one dude that comes out of nowhere and just starts making everything. We've had it since Shane Battier and Mike Miller in the NBA Finals, just going absolute nuts and making 7 of them.
Right. Um, I'm hearing that Bam is having a hamstring issue. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. Of
Stop.
course, the Heat
A
hadn't played.
hamstring don't hamstring you from shooting a freaking free throw.
I'm just saying that's what I'm hearing.
Dude,
It's a hamstring issue.
Brooke Lopez is playing off of him like 6 feet away, 7 feet away, and giving you that shot. The one game he took the shot, he was making them. Like, have confidence in yourself and drill those shots, especially if they're going to just leave you and let you do it. Even Giannis last night was letting him go. I'm like, dude, just shoot it, man. That's your range. You go to that elbow and you make that shot, you're not going to be able to cover nobody. Because with Jimmy doing what he's doing, him making that shot, everybody's going to benefit.
I originally picked Heat in 6, but I got a funny feeling. I got a real funny feeling that after last night, we're gonna rip their hearts out in Game Five. I got a funny feeling about that, and I don't know why, but I just
I
think Jimmy's on such a roll, um, and I do expect shenanigans from the pinstripes. I do expect shenanigans, but um, I think the Heat are gonna wrap this up in Game Five. I think this is
yeah,
gonna end in Milwaukee.
there was shenanigans last night. I'm
Mhm,
watching the game last night, and I'm like, why is this game being called so much different than every other game I watch? Like
mhm.
the game was weirdly called. Like they were letting you beat the crap out of each other on one end, then all of a sudden you breathed on the guy wrong and they called a foul. I'm like, the dude just clotheslined the dude on the other end and you didn't call shit. Now all of a sudden he thumps him in the back of the ear and you call a foul. I'm like, come on, dude. I'm like, y'all gotta be consistent. I can be an NBA ref. I'm way inconsistent.
I definitely expect the shenanigans to roll on. So let's move forward a little bit because I knew if we got through Milwaukee, and I have absolutely no fear of Cleveland or New York, that we have a path to the conference finals. Whatever happens then happens. How confident are you that the Heat can get to the conference finals this year?
Oh, very, especially if they have to play either whoever wins the Knicks. I didn't even know that. They play the Knicks Cleveland winner. I was just worried about the
Yeah,
first round.
yes, sir.
So this was my.
No,
If they got to play either one of them, I ain't worried about boing boing. What do I always say? Fuck the Knicks. And then I'm definitely ain't worried about Cleveland. I
right.
definitely ain't worried about Cleveland. I definitely ain't worried about New York because, like I said, they don't have nobody that can guard Jimmy. Like
We
no
we
one.
have the ideal we have the ideal side of the bracket because on the other side of the bracket, Philly and Boston are looking at each other in the second round.
Well, it's like I always said. Until Philly actually shows me something, I'm always going to go with the team they're playing against. So, yeah, I'm still going with Boston because Philly beat a team that, yeah, it was a good story after they traded away everybody, but really, should they have been there? Like, should they have been? They wouldn't have been
Yeah,
that high up if it wasn't for the guys that they traded away. But they were lucky enough to keep their status and stay
right.
right there. So, really, and now looking back on it, Miami was good to let Atlanta win the playing game and us take the 8 seed. Yeah, I'm more than fine with that. I think the matchup they wanted
Hey,
all along was to play the Bucks. I think that's what the matchup they wanted
yeah,
all along.
yeah. I remember Bryce said he was like last year was the year you wanted the Bucks, not this year. I said, Bryce, it doesn't matter. We want the Bucks anytime. Like
Exactly.
we don't
The
care
Bucks.
about the Bucks.
The Bucks are the Bucks are the the Buck. It was like it's like the Bucks and the Heat series. Ever since there was those rumors of Giannis going to
Hmm.
Miami, it's like
Hmm.
ever since then, it's like Miami has had their number. Like it
Right.
was like, oh, except for the sweep, Miami has had their number. That's
Hmm.
that's fact. Except for the one sweep where they went on to win the championship, and that was their best team that they've had. Other than that, Miami's like, dude, okay, good. Y'all got that guy who can't shoot free throws or 3 pointers. We're good.
Yeah. It is a sight to behold, and like I said, we got Game 5 tomorrow
Remember
night.
what I remember
Um,
what I always tell y'all about them good teams like that though? I always say the first guy, yes, you gotta handle him and everything like that, but it's always the second guy that is your problem. When we
yeah.
lost to him, the problem was Chris Middleton.
Mhm.
When we beat him, we've handled Chris Middleton. It's the same thing for LA and everything. All of a sudden, everybody still has LeBron as the number one guy. He's not the number one guy in LA. Anthony Davis is the number one guy in LA. You go and shut down one of the guys, then you make that other one try to do more. And that's the problem with Giannis. Giannis was trying to do so much, but your second guy that game was Brooke Lopez because you shut down Chris Middleton.
Right.
It's always that second guy. If you get on them, then the team all of a sudden just folds underneath. Handling Chris Middleton
Hmm.
when you play the Bucks is your main priority.
Yeah, because Giannis is gonna get his.
Yeah,
Um,
Giannis is gonna get his. Handling Chris, because you can live with Brooke Lopez doing whatever he's going to do. Like he had a good game last night, but you can live with that because you're limited the second guy in Chris Middleton. I'm like, always limit that second guy. First guy's going to go off, limit the second guy. The bad thing is there's no true second guy for the Heat. And you're still not limiting Jimmy Butler to anything because he's going nuts. So the second guy on the Heat is the rest of them because they always switch that second guy. That's the difference in these super teams and teams that actually play as a cohesive unit.
mhm. Well,
Oh,
we
I
will
can go
see what
on.
happens.
I can go on. Anybody want? I had one dude try to argue with me the other day. The reason that Michael Jordan was so good is because he played in the triangle offense with Phil Jackson. I said, you do realize the triangle offense was meant to take the ball out of Michael Jordan's hands, correct? And he was like, what? I said, the triangle offense is center-centric. You throw the
Right.
ball inside and then you work your way back outside. I said they tried to take the ball out of Michael Jordan's hands. Michael said, "No, the hell you ain't," and still did what he did. I'm like, yo,
Wow.
I'm like, y'all don't test me with stuff. Please don't. Please, just please don't.
Well,
I'm in,
we
I
are
am an
gonna.
encyclopedia of wealth and knowledge about anything else besides life.
Well, that's why I was happy to have you jump on today, because, like I said, the entirety of Heat Nation is really trying to comprehend what we saw last night, try to process it, trying to put it in words, because it was just such a phenomenal outpour of greatness from Jimmy Butler.
It's like I tell people
I
when
just,
stuff like this happens, enjoy it because
yeah,
you don't know when you're
yeah,
going to see stuff like this happen again. So enjoy the hell out of it.
yeah.
Just
I,
enjoy it, soak it in because you don't know how long it's going to run for, but just enjoy the ride while you can. Well, I was telling all these Jaguar fans last year. Everybody was enjoying the ride. I'm like, just enjoy the ride. Stop worrying about what's going to happen next. Live in the now, and you don't have to worry about it. Then when it's over with, you can look back on it and be like, hey, dude, that was great. Then you can kind of set forth to the future whenever the future starts happening. Don't try to jump ahead and be like, oh shit, we're gonna go to the super. No, don't jump ahead. Enjoy right then look ahead when it's time to get there. Don't just automatically go, well, I'm looking 3 years down the road. No, do that shit. Enjoy now. Do what Pat Riley
uh,
does. Just enjoy the moment. Because he ain't looking 4 years down the road because he ain't got no more draft picks.
that's a conversation for another day. I just 62% through 4 games, averaging 37 points a game. Even in that Wade final run, he averaged 34 points a game. This is
Exactly.
absolutely unbelievable. But I'm
It's a
gonna end it with this. 'Cause- oh, go ahead.
it's a great run. And if it ends in even a finals appearance or a conference finals appearance, this is
Mhm.
still a surprising outcome based on where they were at when they went into the playoffs.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they will probably be the first play-in team to actually win a playoff series. Not surprising because it's the Heat, but overall, since they've had the playoff tournament the last 3 years, they would be the first one to do it.
I
Um,
just like how everybody's all of a sudden like, oh no, I seen this coming. Bullshit, you saw this coming.
nah, they didn't see
I
it.
was like, the only
They
people
didn't
that
see it.
saw this coming saw them playing at the end of the year and knew what they were capable of and knew who they were playing.
Kevin, tell the people where they can find you at.
They can find me at Kevin C 2415. I sometimes do this other podcast. I forgot the name of it. It's been so long since I've done one. Uh, I think it's called the Balls in Your Court podcast. I don't know. I think my co-host may have died or he bought annual passes to another theme park. I don't know what it is, or he may be asleep. I don't know.
I think he's asleep.
No. He was at Epcot freaking yesterday, so I don't know what he's doing. I was like, the boy don't he but like he's bought annual passes for every theme park now. He's got water park passes. The boy can't even swim.
Conversation for another day. Look, I'm gonna leave us with this quote from Jimmy Butler, because it's just it just I love Jimmy Butler. I swear to God, I love Jimmy Butler. They asked him about playoff Jimmy, and Jimmy said, "That's not a thing. I just be open."
The thing is, most of the time he ain't open. he makes he, he makes he makes himself open by banging into somebody, and he still ain't open.
Yeah,
Like some of
yeah.
the shit he hit the other day, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" I was like, "Go home." I'm like, just go home." The thing about last night was though, you're down 15 points, and you didn't even
Mhm.
blink, and they were
No,
right back in the game. Like you were down 15, you didn't even hardly blink. Like I took my eyes off of it for a second and then turned it back and bam. And I was like, holy shit. It didn't take no time for them to be right back in it. I was like, damn.
Mhm.
I was
The
like,
Heat were not stressed at all. Yeah, they didn't look
they never
worried. They didn't look stressed.
they never are. Like it's
Mhm.
they're one of those you want to know what and I know we were supposed to wrap up, but I'm the thing with them is they're not like Memphis and
Mm.
Cleveland and some of
Mm.
these other teams. Look, the perfect example I'm going to give you is look at Miami and then look over at Golden State.
Mhm.
Two teams that are veteran laden and didn't panic at all.
Yeah.
Golden State didn't panic when they were down 2-0 and everybody was going nuts because of Sacramento. They didn't panic at all. They just went out and handled their business. Miami, same thing. When they get down in these games, they don't panic at all. Then they just come back out and handle their business. These now is when you look at, and even Milwaukee is a veteran laden team, but Milwaukee just for some reason when pressure and stuff gets on them, they can't handle it. Like they handled it their finals years, but they can't handle it, especially when it comes from the Heat because of the physicality
Mhm.
and everything, and they're trying to match it. It's just crazy. But the veteran laden teams are the ones that are going to make the run this year because you have so many younger teams that are still in the playoffs. So those are the guys that you always want to keep your eye on because the older we always say these old teams they can't run with these guys and everything. But these old games when it comes playoff time, that's when they their eyes light up.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You just
we
don't
will end it.
panic.
We will definitely end it on that note because there was no panic in Miami last night. Kevin, thank you for joining us today on the Hardwood Nation podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below. Tell Kevin how much you love him. Tell me how much you hate me. We are out.